You don't need to translate this, or if you wish to, but this is like a funny story. I remember as a young monk in Thailand, just how unfair it was. All the senior monks had these lovely cushions and nice big mats underneath them. And when I was just the junior monk, I had no cushions, no mats. They were reserved for the seniors. And then when I looked at the seniors, they're the ones who didn't need cushions. They had what I called natural upholstery. They were fat. Now I'm a senior monk. I have natural upholstery. And still people give me these amazingly big cushions. I thought that was really unfair. All the cushions should be given to the junior monks. Would that be a good idea? Anyway, you can translate it if you wish, but that's not really part of the talk. The talk was, again, continuing on from yesterday, the 1,000-petaled lotus simile. Now, if you remember that the lotus is a metaphor, a symbol for you, and noticing that on the outside it may not be very encouraging. When you see sometimes some old people, some sick people, some people who haven't had much education or have had a difficult life, say in a prison or something, and you think that on the outside it looks really hopeless. How can someone like that ever develop deep meditation and become enlightened? But then, you find if they can open up, metaphorically, to go inside of their body and mind, that there they too can see this beautiful inside with, I'll say what that is in a few moments. But the way of opening up the lotus is the kindfulness, the kindness together with the mindfulness. Don't have one without the other. It doesn't have power. And so we develop that in those early stages of meditation. In the early stages of practice of the Eightfold Path. I always wanted to, not prove, but confirm the practice of meditation is not just what you do when you sit down on a cushion. It's what you do the rest of the day, the rest of your life. In order to get something like a jhana, you do need to practice the other 7 factors as well. There's never a one-fold path, never a two-fold path. It's always an eightfold path. So we try and have as much right view as possible. And part of that right view is the idea of non-self, non-ownership, not me, not mine, not a self. You never identify anything as being who you really are. And you never ever feel that you own anything. Eventually you have to let everything go. And so we start just sitting down cross-legged, or however you are comfortable. And just this is what I was talking about. Oh, I think I should mention this at breakfast time with a couple of very nice monks. And I was saying just how that is health a real obstacle to deep meditation? It can be. It makes it more difficult to meditate. But I know this one monk. I know this monk very well. He won't lie to me. And this particular monk had this terrible disease in hospital, and nothing was working. He was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And the energy was the lowest he'd ever had in his life. And even when Ajahn Brahm came to see him, that didn't really help. So one day this monk was laying in the bed in hospital, feeling terribly with a fever, And then he decided to meditate. What does that mean? Decided to meditate. It's almost like he had no other choice. Everything else had been done. Nothing was working. And so, just to see if he can let go. And if you're that sick, you don't meditate on the breath. You don't even meditate on loving kindness. All of that is too complicated for a brain which is very tired and very sick. What you do is you let go, or just let it be. Of those two, let go or let it be, to me, I understand letting go means letting go of doing anything, letting go of craving, letting go of criticizing, letting go of any reaction, and instead just letting this moment be. And this monk confirmed to me that it actually worked. I got into a very deep meditation. And because of that deep meditation, the body vanished. And if ever you have a really sick body, in pain, hot fever, so weak, and it vanishes, you go to the realm of the mind. And the mind is independent of the body. The body can be sick, but the mind inside is usually healthy and beautiful. So you can imagine the contrast. Imagine coming out afterwards as how relieved you feel. I cannot tell you who that monk is or was, otherwise I get into trouble. But I think many of you have guessed. That's why, I don't make up stories. So, when it comes to the 1,000-petal lotus simile, as you go deeper and deeper and deeper inside, you go closer to this thing which we call the mind. It's like in this simile, the mind is inside the inner petals of the lotus, and they're covered with the body, with conceptions like time. It's covered by the way we interpret the world through thoughts, through language. It was fascinating for me as a young monk. I did immerse myself in the Thai language at the time, not just learning it, but understanding why it works. For example, in many of the Asian language, say even English, we say sir or madam. So if I see a senior man, I'd say sir to him. I see a senior woman, say madam. But certainly in Thai, if you're a man and you see anyone senior to you, you say sir. If I saw a senior woman, I'd say sir, because it was from who was speaking these words made it sir or madam. In English is who you were speaking it to made it sir or madam. And that confused me for such a long time. When you see a senior monk and you call them, Bhante, a junior monk, Awuso. But when I looked up the meaning of Awuso and Bhante, it was confusing. Because Awuso was respecting somebody's, and Bhante was just a lesser form of respect. So I thought, what's going on there? It was just understanding language. The relationships was the other way around in some of these Buddhist countries. And anyhow, when it came to the 1,000-petal lotus, you were going deeper and deeper inside. All you were doing was just being kind and being mindful. And as in the question time yesterday evening, we were mentioning that being kind, isn't that doing something? And actually it's not. It's a way of letting go. It's a way of letting things be. It's a way of not controlling. You open the door of your heart to this moment unconditionally. not asking this moment to change or to be any better. You're letting it be. You're being unconditionally kind. So, that's what we're doing all the time if you want to experience deep states. And sometimes people argue, and this is one of the reasons I respected and was very pleased with that question. How come letting be and kindness are the same? And if you practice it, you can experience that when you are kind, you let it be. You care. A lot of time, even with sicknesses and physical sicknesses, why is it we always want to do something to cure it? It's kind of a funny story, but it's still a powerful reflection of how curing or healing happens. You care for it unconditionally. If you're caring, expecting things to change, you find they usually get worse. But if you care for something, letting it be, then you usually find it heals. It's a strange paradox because when we interfere, we're interfering sometimes with the body's natural process of healing. We're kind of interfering with it. I often saw in the forests, in the jungles, where I was a forest monk in my early years, if an animal got sick, they would just crawl under a concealed place for their safety, and they would wait for the fever or for the injury to heal, and then they would crawl out again. I remember seeing, I forget which animal it was now in Thailand, it was under one of the huts. It was obviously injured, and all I did was actually to push a bowl of water towards it, so at least it could hydrate, but I would not interfere. So I could care for it, but I wasn't going to try and cure it. If I did try and cure it, it would probably struggle and injure itself some more and probably die. So anyhow, thousand petal lotus, you get to a stage, I think the stage I got to was when you get into the center of time, the present moment. And only you can do that with mindfulness and kindness. If you're kind to the past and future, it's much easier to let it go. Be forgiving whoever hurt you or your role in hurting others. Forgive it. That's part of kindness. And be kind to this moment, however it feels right now. Be kind to it. The anger-eating monster, if you give the monster kindness rather than anger, you find it settles down, becomes peaceful. Whatever state of mind you're experiencing, whatever, if you just are mindful of it and kind to it, you find it settles down. Be patient, that's also part of kindness. Give it time, and you soon find some of the deepest of pains can subside. You all know how the Buddha talked about pain, the two types of pain, the two thorns which can penetrate and cause difficulty for you, the physical pain and the emotional pain. The physical pain you can't do much about. The emotional pain is totally able to be let go of. And it's the emotional pain which is the worst. I always remember the story of this man in the early days in Perth who came to monastery to learn meditation simply because his pain was extreme. He said the local pain clinic had given him and about 2 other people in Western Australia legal permission to use any drug. No drug was illegal for him and his 2 other men, simply because their pain was extreme. And he said, having given them scans of the brain, they said they were experiencing the same degree of pain, continuously, 24/7, as if they were having their arm sawn off without anesthetic, with a handsaw. He said they needed to confirm that's what he was feeling, so he could tell the people who cared for him, his family, his loved ones, his friends, what he was really feeling. Anyone can say, oh, it hurts a lot, but how much? And are you exaggerating? And this man was not exaggerating at all. He was really feeling extreme pain. But looking at his face, you would never believe that. And I remember him coming to our meditation center in Perth, and he had a big smile on his face. And when he came up to speak with me, he said, I've finally done it. I've finally done it. I looked at him to try and find out what he had done. And he had told me a little before that he was practicing his meditation while his brain was being scanned and his body was being scanned. I said, oh, you finally got the ECG flat. The ECG which monitors your heart activity. I said, no, I did that weeks ago. That was easy. I finally got the EEG flat as well, which measures your brain activity. And then he turned around and said, see all those people at the back of this hall? You haven't seen them before come here, because this is their first time. They're all my doctors and nurses from the pain clinic, coming to find out what the heck is going on with this meditation. It was actually working. And so there are some great degrees of pain, but he overcame the worst part of that by being able to let go of the emotional reaction to the pain, that second thought. And what's left is so much less. But anyway, back to the meditation where you're going deep into your lotus and the flowers get much more beautiful and fragrant when you've let go of the naming. You've got a silent mind now where you can see pain or you can see a sunset and you don't give it a name. You don't discuss it with yourself. You take off that part of pain, which is the worst part. The naming and thinking about it, the complaining. And when you have silence and you're in this moment, that is my definition of mindfulness. And even when you do anapanasati, if you ever look at how the Buddha suggested you should practice anapanasati, the first thing to do is to establish the mindfulness, to make sure the mindfulness is strong. As I've told many people, because this is how I practice, how I found out from my own practice, how important this is. When the mindfulness is strong, then you find it's easy to watch the breath. The breath comes towards me. And at this time of my monastic life, totally 100% honest, I never go looking for my breath. I become quiet and peaceful, let go of time, sit reasonably comfortably, let go of giving things names, and the breath comes towards me. And that's because I don't seek it. When the breath comes, it's always so much more peaceful and beautiful. It's easy to watch. I don't tell the breath what to do. I don't say that now you've got to watch the breath go in and go out. I just watch the breath. It can come in, it can go out, it can go sideways if it wants to. I'm not giving any orders. Of course it can't go sideways. That's just an emphasis to make this instruction very clear. You don't control the breath. That's what makes it difficult to watch. And then you go to this, you're going inwards, inside this moment, inside the silence. This is where the breath comes up. And as you watch the breath, you just don't worry whether it's going in or going out. As I mentioned a few times, your mindfulness is usually so strong in this moment. You need a concept of past or future to give it a location in time, to be able to say it's going in, it's been going in a little while, it's almost finished going in, now it's going out, and it will just keep on going out for a while. Now there's a space between the breathings. That needs a concept of time. And when time vanishes, you just know breath happening. And you see every moment of the breath. It qualifies as full awareness of the breath. That what doesn't last. Soon that breath opens out, or rather the layers of petals which you identify as the breath opens out. When you go to, as I said, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th stage of anapanasati, and that is where the breath is not experienced as a physical sensation anymore. It becomes experienced as a mental sensation. You know it through the mind. It's still the breath, but it's how the mind knows the breath. And that's where the piti sukha comes up. It's like the coarse breath experienced through the 5 senses, or the 5th sense, touch, opens up, and inside you see this delightful breath, which is how the mind sees the breath. The delight comes from the fact that this is experienced through the 6th sense of citta. And I missed that for many years, but when you look to see how the Buddha described it, this is the citta sankhara, coming from the mind. And so you experience how the mind is feeling the breath. And it's not what you do, it's just what you experience. This lotus is opening up and you're going deeper inside. The ordinary physical feeling of the breath, those petals are pretty nice, but then they open up and you see a more beautiful layer of petals, the way the mind experiences the breathing. And as you are experiencing them, of course the breath starts to calm down even more. It's almost like the body doesn't need much oxygen because you're not hardly doing anything. You're just sitting there. The body, you've gone inside the body, even deeper inside the body. You can't feel the outermost petals of the lotus. You're going deeper inside, which means that the body, you can have things like mosquitoes landing on you, that things falling on you. You tend not to feel them. Even then, they're like a long distance away. And as you go deeper in the meditation, soon the physical experience of the mental experience of the breath, the delight of the breath changes. You go inside that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th part of the anapanasati. You go inside of it. And this is an important point. You never go on to the next stage of meditation. You find the next stage of meditation right inside where you already are. You go deeper into it. And as you go deeper into it, the breath vanishes. It doesn't vanish slowly. The petals open slowly. And you find these beautiful lights in the mind. They're delightful. They're beautiful. You go into the realm of nimittas. Now, one part of the meditation practice, which I have to talk about a lot, because sometimes people understand the importance of these lights, these nimittas, but they don't know how to develop them. Sometimes you see a light coming up and it doesn't last very long. And then you go back to the breath. And then you wonder, what did I do wrong? You weren't patient enough. Imagine you're watching the lotus open up, and this layer of petals called the breath have almost opened up totally, but not total yet. And you can see the next layer of petals, which is the nimitta, the light. That's there, but it hasn't fully emerged from the encasing petals of breath. You see two layers at the same time. The inner ones of the mind and the nimitta, and you see the outer ones of the breathing. And when people ask me what to do, just remembering that instruction, really helpful. Because you're going deeper in, but you're not ready, confident enough to go deeper in and just see these beautiful lights. And that is one of the reasons why sometimes the lights flash up. They last for a short time and they don't develop fully. If you could let the outer petals of the physical experience of the breath, described by first, second, third, fourth parts of Anapanasati, and let the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth layer of petals, they open up too. And then you get to nimittas, these beautiful lights. And there's a couple of things to know about those lights. Even today, someone said that once the lights were so beautiful, so powerful, they were afraid. Like you can go blind. That's what they thought. It's just like looking at the sun in Australia at midday. It's so bright. You would go blind if you're looking at that with your eyes. But this is not a physical image. This is the mental image. It can be as bright as you like and you never go blind. Okay, I do wear glasses, but that's only because I'm old. But I'm never blind. Certainly not through nimittas. And the nice thing about you've gone inside and you have these beautiful lights in the mind, the breath has done its bit. The breath is kind of the outermost petals. The outer petals have opened up. And now you see what's inside those petals of the breath in that stage of meditation. Inside is this beautiful light. In the Anapanasati Sutta, they say you become aware of the chitta. And you learn how to, I used to call it sampasadanang chittang, which is to brighten the nimitta. That's my rendering of that. It's not a literal rendering of the Pali word, but the rendering of what actually is happening. And then samadahang chittang, you still that light. And then the 12th stage, vimochayang chittang, you free that nimitta, which means that you just go into it. You make it free, totally free from the five senses. That's where you enter the jhana. But the 9th, 10th, 11th stage of meditation, we experience the nimitta, which is how you can perceive that citta, the sign of the citta. It's usually a beautiful light. And there's a couple of other things about that light which you're seeing. It's right inside the breath. One of them is it doesn't matter how bright it is. The brighter the better. Also, it doesn't matter how happy that is, how much piti sukha is there. It's a personal experience which other people have also confirmed. That's maybe sometimes what happens to them. Sometimes even in the stage of being able to observe a nimita inside the meditation experience, sometimes it gets so pleasurable. You get so much piti sukha. I remember once coming out and contemplating a human being cannot endure so much pleasure. It was extreme joy. And I thought, that cannot be right. I'm going to go crazy or explode with energy. But please know there's no limit. You can really get off on that piti sukha inside the mind in these nimita stages. And that will soon make it really easy to go into the next layer of petals, which are the jhanas, and go really deep very quickly. You've got the power to do so, the energy. So anyway, you're looking at this piti sukha, now experienced as a nimita, as a beautiful light in the mind. I would also add that the colors of the light are not important. There's nothing special about whether it's a yellow light, a blue light, a purple light, a green light. The color is not important, but its intensity is. By its intensity, I also point out that when you see, like a nimita, these beautiful bright colors in the mind associated with a lot of joy and happiness, that the colors are not the same as you see with your eyes open. And this is one of the fascinating parts of this stage of meditation. If it is a golden color, it's like pure gold, really pure gold, like a type of golden color which is taken how you see gold now and intensifying it, taking it to the next level. So it's more gold than gold. If it's like a blue color, it's the deepest blue you've ever seen, or actually more deep than the deepest blue you've seen. Even if it's like a purple, more purple than purple. And this is one of the reasons why when people say they saw these colors, but these colors are not of the world, they're pure, deeper, more wonderful, then you know for sure that that was an nimita experience. And the nimita becomes so satisfying. That's the 10th stage of anapanasati, sampasadanang cittang. Becomes beautiful. But you also have to keep that nimita still. How do you keep it still? There was this beautiful story told by Ajahn Brahm of the still forest pool. He used that word, still forest pool, many times in many different contexts. But the story which I remember him saying, anyway, I still call him him. So anyway, oh, that's nice. Thank you, Mara. You're making amends by making me cool again. So after the normal forest animals came out to play by the still forest pool, then the special forest animals would come out, and then came out the super special forest animals to play by the still forest pool. And they were delightful to watch. They were rare and very shy. They'd only come out if Ajahn Brahm, who was watching, was perfectly still. And he told me that simile, and he said those special forest animals, the ones who came out after the normal ones, were like the nimittas, the beautiful lights which came up in the mind. They would come out in the mind only when you were very still. If any of you saw any of those nimittas and went, wow, oh, what's this? Look at that. Then they would go away again. And sometimes those forest animals would go back into the jungle for days, and they wouldn't let you see them for a long time. And especially the second, the most powerful forest animals, most shy, were the jhanas. If you're about to enter a jhana and you start thinking, wow, it's happening, yeah, then of course you're destroying it. They'll run away. And that was kind of helpful for me when I was meditating, to know if these beautiful things start to occur in your mind, be more still. Don't move. You can delay the wow and the celebrations until after the meditation is finished, after you've gone into the jhana and emerged later on. That's the time to say wow, but not before. So anyway, you see these lights come up into the mind, you empower them, and you stabilize them, make them still with the samadhi. You just do that by letting go, not doing anything. And soon these lights, or a light, a simple light, but powerful, stays in front of you. I would also mention that sometimes people experience these lights not in the center of their mind, but up to the left, to the right, or wherever. Don't try and move towards that light. You stay where you are and let that light come towards you. Sometimes I say it's just like that light is testing you out, seeing whether you're ready for it. If it's, say, up here somewhere and you move towards there, it just goes further away. Instead, you stay looking right in front, and then the light will come and center on you. Your job is just to watch and be stable, be still. And as that light sort of develops, it's like you're going deeper into the next layer of petals of your lotus. And please know, the deeper you go, the more beautiful are those petals, the more fragrant, powerfully fragrant, more beautiful than you've ever experienced before. That's why it's a wonderful journey. The next layer is always better than the last one. So you have this beautiful nimita layer of petals. What do you do next? Nothing, just keep being mindful and kind. Imagine a beautiful light in front of you. It opens out. It's like you feel you're going into it, being drawn into it, or it's enveloping you. The same phenomena seen from two different aspects, but you emerge into it. And as you merge into that nimita, the piti sukha gets even stronger, but more stable. And this is where you experience the first jhana. We go deep into these petals. And the beautiful experience which you have is where the five senses are so far away. And what is your object of meditation? All this time you're never choosing the object of your meditation. You get drawn into it. It's a piti sukha. They say usually born of the distance from the five senses. You really have let these five senses become separate. And as you're in there, there's hardly any movement. First of all, you cannot think. That silence of the mind was established quite a few layers of petals beforehand. So if any of you have the experience of these deep meditations, and you ask yourself, is this jhana? That definitely is not a jhana. If you get afraid, oh no, any sort of comment, reaction is a proof that that's not a jhana. Instead, you experience this bliss. While you're in there, remember also what I said about the Buddha's description of this bliss. One of the epithets was Sambodhi Sukha, Pariveka Sukha. These are where you experience some deep similarities with what it's like to be fully enlightened. Sambodhi Sukha. So while you're in there, you cannot choose how long. That is one of the lovely things about the jhanas. So many things are being stilled, have become calm. Even your choice to do things is mostly calmed down in the first jhana. But it's not totally the second jhana yet, where the stillness reaches its peak. Because in that first jhana, I think I mentioned this earlier in the question time, it's like you haven't got the full confidence to let go yet. You find afterwards that you're still holding on to that piti sukha. It's so magnificent, so special, so valuable. It's like, as a layperson, if somebody gave you this big diamond worth $10 million, you'd hold on to it. You can't put it down. You can't let it go. This is an experience worth much more than any jewelry, and so you tend to hold it. And that is the vichara. Because you're holding on to it, it becomes unstable. You move slightly away, and then you get pulled straight back to it. That's the vitakka, which happens in the first jhana. After a while, it happens naturally. The vichara is that the ice cream truck. Don't worry about it. Sorry? Okay, the vitakka vichara bit. Okay, you have the vichara, which is a holding on to this object which is occurring in the first jhana. And you don't examine this while you're in it, because you're too still to do that. When you emerge after the jhanas, then you look back, what was that? What was happening? And then you can recall those experiences so easily. And as you recall those experiences, that's where you can notice that what was happening, you are still holding on to that piti sukha. And that made it unstable. And that made you move away from that experience. But not that far. As you move away, you get drawn back in again. That's the vitakka, moving towards the object. Vichara is holding it. After a while, it's like the mind learns not. It doesn't need to hold on to the object so much, but it still holds on to it slightly, which means it's not unstable. Your mind doesn't move away from the nimita. It's not from the nimita, from the piti sukha. It's right inside there, which means the vitakka disappears, but the vichara still remains. That is, between the first and second jhana, which the Buddha talked about, and especially Venerable Sariputta explained. And eventually, when you don't need to hold on to it, it's stable, you let go of the vichara, and that becomes the real second jhana. And these are things which are unmistakable. Remember, your mind has got huge clarity inside those jhanas. You cannot think and use that clarity yet, but when you emerge afterwards, I can't even consider somebody who experienced one of those jhanas not asking themselves when they emerge afterwards, what was that? These are huge experiences, and of course you'll examine them. And as you examine them, when you emerge, when the mind can contemplate or investigate or explore, that's when you can see that the second jhana is where there's full peace, samadhija, peace, born of stillness. So you're so still, if you get into a second jhana, you usually stay there for a long period of time. You can't come out. So how do you emerge from any of these jhanas, whether it's first, second, or even deeper jhanas? You usually make that adhitthana before you enter the jhana. You say, I have to come out at 9 o'clock, because at 9 o'clock I have to give the opportunity for Venerable Dhamma to make a translation or whatever. And it's amazing just how, if you make a determination like that, your mind will follow it. I never understood that first teacher who taught me meditation, and especially jhanas. I didn't really expect that the sort of things which he taught me, that what they really meant and how important they were. For 7 or 8 days, he told me, when you go to bed at night, do not set your alarm for the time you want to get up. Instead, set your alarm for 5 minutes after you intend to get up. Say, for example, you want to get out of bed at 4 a.m. Set your alarm for 4:05. But when you get into your bed, you lay down, you tell yourself, make an adhitthana, I will get out of bed, I will wake up at 4 a.m. I will wake up at 4 a.m. I will wake up at 4 a.m. Say it to yourself 3 times, in your own language. Then forget about it, don't worry about it. And I was surprised, I was only an 18-year-old. 19, but anyway, about that age. And when I did that, it worked every morning. Just setting an alarm clock was making sure I never needed to feel afraid. You got your own little clock inside your brain or your mind, and if you tell it carefully what time you want to come out of your meditation, the mind will be obedient and will come out for you. That is how, when you get into deep meditation, you can, after please enjoying it for quite a few times, but then later on, if you have to come out to do a duty, say to yourself, I must come out by 3 p.m, I must come out by 3 p.m, I must come out by 3 p.m, or whatever time you need to come out by to do your duties, to help others. And the mind can do that. That's how you come out of these meditations, deep meditations, by determining the time before you enter. And then, how do you get from the second to the third jhana? Just how much you've been letting go. You go into these jhanas. Once you're inside, you can't do anything. You don't want to do anything. You're enjoying them. But when you are, say, in the second jhana for long enough, because of the stillness, something else will vanish. And what vanishes is this thing which we call sukha. The thing which we call piti. And after that vanishes, we just have sukha without piti. And I know a lot of times people ask me, what is the difference between piti and sukha? And I challenged them. I said, the only time you'll be able to find out for yourself was if you can enter a third jhana. And I say that because that's the only time when piti and sukha tend to be independent. Once you know one without the other, then you can identify what the other is when something has disappeared. What's happening is you're calming down even more. And it's not something you choose to do. It's something which is just happening. The more you let go, the more things disappear. And then, of course, the fourth jhana, we go deeper into this lotus, to the fourth jhana. It's inside the third jhana. It's the sukha vanishes. And then you just have this quality called upekkha. But even upekkha, sometimes you read in the suttas, the Buddha calls it upekkha sukha. It's still delightful, but in a more refined way. And this is where it's delightful, refined, gorgeous. This is the fourth jhana. What happens next? Imagine being in a fourth jhana for long periods. It's very stable. If you're in a fourth jhana for a long time, something else is going to disappear. It's the nature of stillness that it never stays the same. More things vanish. That's why sometimes people feel stillness. You're not doing anything, you're not achieving anything. My goodness, you are. You're letting more and more things go. And you're going deeper and deeper and deeper into this lotus, which is your body and mind. You experience the fourth jhana is right in the center of each one of you. And in the center of the fourth jhana, you go deeper, and these are the immaterial states. And eventually you can understand how this works. Infinity of space. Actually, I don't like the word infinity. Unmeasured. I like the word unmeasured because if you stop measuring things, things disappear. Okay, I was a mathematician before. Infinity and zero are very close together. So when it becomes infinite, ananta, unmeasured, it shows it's about to vanish. Infinity of consciousness. Vijnanananta. This is where even the consciousness is vanishing. Because it's still. It disappears. What's the next arupa state? Nothingness. Surely that must be the end. There's nothing. But even that idea vanishes. And neva sanya na sanya. Neither perceiving nor not perceiving. It's more things are disappearing. And the only way to describe that is that you're not perceiving anything, but you're perceiving and not perceiving anything. Neither neva sanya na sanya, not perceiving nor not perceiving. And once that vanishes, then the whole mind ceases. Was it? The nirodha. What's the word again? Sanya vedayata nirodha. All that is perceived or experienced ceases. It's temporary. You wish it would be permanent, but it's temporary for the time being. And then eventually you emerge. Things start up again, just like the electricity. which turned off, and then starts up again. But this is your vijnana, your chitta, ceases and starts up again. But the result of that is you know that all this vijnana, chitta, mano, is all able to cease. What's the result of that? Now you've experienced the chitta in depth. You know what the 6 vijnanas are. Then you realize there's nothing there. I did have a little argument with Bhikkhu Bodhi at first. That when I said, if you do experience that cessation while you're still alive, when you emerge afterwards, you have to be either anagami or a full enlightenment. No other choice. And he said he couldn't see the reference there in the sutras, but he did see it there. I showed it to him later on. So this is why this happens and what it's there for. To see from your own experience that that which you thought was permanent is fragmentary and doesn't last. It's anicca. What's anicca? You can't ever accept in the future as permanent, as a core, as part of you. I've gone on 5 minutes longer than I should have. I put that down to the influence of Mara turning off the electricity. Is that fair? The arupa. Vijnanayatana. Huh? Oh yeah. Yes. When the conscious, after Nevasanya Nasanya? Oh, okay, yeah. Nothingness, yeah. Yes. So the nothingness being the idea of space, disappearing. The place in which existence can occur. Did I do that correctly? I lost my thread. Anyway, everything goes. Nothing left. Does that make sense? Nearly. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I wish you a pleasant morning. There'll be some more interviews at 10 o'clock. And in the meantime, please give poor Venerable Dhammita enough time to actually make a translation. I meant to finish early. Is that okay? Okay, please 5 minutes break and then back again for Venerable Dhammita to give the translation.